Alright, so we're back, YouTube. As promised, I am going to be checking out the other subclass to the Saber mod that I uploaded yesterday. I believe this may be uploaded for members a little bit early, so if you're part of the members and you see this video, appreciate you guys, and your support really does help the channel. But anyway, the subclass that we're going to be taking a look at is called the Alter subclass, which is just, I guess, a corrupted version of Saber. Now, again, I don't know too much about Fate. I'm going to start trying to read/watch it probably here in a couple of weeks. Because I've heard nothing but good things about the series, and yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious to see like how good it is. 'Cause I've seen it pop up on my timeline. I've seen edits and things like that, so I'm definitely curious to see how the story plays out. And I know there's like many variations of it. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. We're gonna be going over the Ultra subclass. Unlike the Radiant subclass, as you see here, you get different abilities. You also get a different subclass ability. You'll also get like different weapons and armor as well. And we'll kind of go over that after we just go through quickly the level 1 process here. But at level 1, you get access to a new cantrip called Dread Pursuit. Teleport to the next victim and possibly take them by surprise. It's essentially just a free teleport that you can teleport to a creature. And this has a chance, I guess, depending on a wisdom save, if you're able to take them by surprise, which means they won't be able to attack next turn. You also get a subclass feature called Grail's Curse. A corrupting power festers within. Its chaotic nature is stifling your true strength. You deal 2 less damage with your weapon, has -2 to attack rolls. So very similar to the subclass feature of the Radiant subclass, which is the Shadows of the Past. You also have that slight nerf at the very beginning, up until I want to say level 10, to which that turns into an advantage later on. So ability score is still roughly the same. I would say Strength and Wisdom would probably be your priorities if you want to bump down Constitution a little bit. The mod does offset the ability score points that you get, so just keep that in mind when going through. I mean, you can always tone down things like Charisma if you want, but typical stat points here, I would say something around this. And so for the items, you'll get these items if you start off with the class at the very beginning, but also if you decide not to and you want to switch over, these will also be in an items chest inside the tutorial chest or inside of your camp chest. You'll get access to the plate armor, pretty standard plate armor, but gives the passive abilities of power armor. Sabers grow in power, fortifies their defense, adding the strength modifier to your armor class to a maximum of +6. So once you beef up your strength to 20, you'll get that +6 modifier to your armor class, which can go up, I want to say, around at least 22 or 23. You'll also get the gauntlets, which gives you a strength saving throw of +1, and then you'll get athletics +1 by the boots. You also get some camp clothes, which I didn't address last time. You get like some simple camp clothes, pretty cool looking, not really too special. You also get access to the Excalibur Morgan. This has the corrupting weapon feature. Each melee hit inflicts or advances corruption through stages of Scatter, Weakness, Stiffen, and Horror. Each stage debuffs stack with all previous ones. So you can stack weakness on top of scatter, stiffness and type of weakness and scatter, so on and so forth. You also get the ability Mana Burst, which deals additional 1 to 6 force damage and immunity to force damage, which, again, I don't know too many creatures that are immune to force damage. Maybe it's like 2 or 3. You also get +3 weapon enhancement and +4 intimidation, and it grants you resistance to force damage. So kind of going over what the stages are. This creature becomes scattered, takes 1d4 penalty to wisdom saving throws, and has a disadvantage for concentration. That can be upgraded to weakness, which takes another 1d4 to strength. And then it can be corrupting weapon. Stiffness. Sorry. The creature becomes stiffened. Its movement speed is reduced by 50% and takes a 1d4 penalty to dexterity saving throws. And then the last stage is horror, which a creature is horrified. The weapon's owner melee attacks deal additional 1d8 force damage against this target. So if you ever to stack on horror, you'll be doing a lot of force damage, which seems to be like the main cusp of what this character can do, is a lot of force and corruption damage. So I really can't show like the teleport here outside of combat, just because unfortunately like I don't have any enemies, but we'll definitely demonstrate that as we get into the combat scenario. So level 2, you'll get a couple of new actions here. You get Corrupting Smite, which is very similar to the Smite that we got with the Radiant class, except of doing Radiant damage, you're doing Force damage. You get that as a critical reaction, regular action, and then you get the Corrupt Weapon. Corrupts the weapon you're holding, applying Morgan's passive effects. So if we're getting into level 3, we're just going to take a look into that, as you can see here. We can go ahead and apply that. So now we should be able to have those effects apply whenever we're in a combat, the corrupting weapon effect. So it'd be a little bit easier to kind of showcase in battle, but I just wanted to show what the animation looks like before moving on to the rest of the level up process. So level 3, we get another fighting style. Like the beginning at level 1, we can choose one right off the back, which shows great weapon fighting. We can do retaliation, defense, or dueling. I mean, you really don't need dueling if you're going to be doing one-handed. I think the longsword will count as one-handed if you equip the shield, because this is a longsword and not a greatsword, so it's a versatile weapon. So if you equip the shield with it, it turns into a one-handed, and you can get the effects of dueling. I do like defense, just having a +1 to armor class is really good. Retaliation is also pretty strong, too. At level 4, we get the Factor of the Dragon, which we've already kind of demonstrated with the Radiant, so I won't go over that too much in depth, but just know that up until, like, max level, cantrips and all spell levels up to level 4 will have no effect on you. This is why I mentioned that this class is kind of broken, especially when you get to the later levels. You get similar actions of the Counter-Strike, Reaction, and Disarming Attack. Those are very similar to the Radiant class. We're going to do subclass feature called Life Leech. Killing enemies with melee attacks restores the wielder's health by 1 to 6 points, and +1 equal to half its level. So, essentially, we'll get at least up to 6 points of health, than half of our level. So, at max level, we will get 1d6 plus 10 hit points. So, roughly up to a maximum of 6 hit points per each time we kill a creature. We get a new feat, ability improvement, just to get our strength up is pretty standard. At level 5, we just get the same class features, extra attack, and we get the disarming attacks, or I'm sorry, the trip attacks. And then we get some subclass features, Accelerate Corruption. Critical hits inflicts Corruption 3 on targets below stage 3 or purified by Corrupt Smite. Cursed Will. You will now battle the girl's influence for control, allowing a fraction of your power to surface. You deal 1 less damage with your weapon, have -1 to attack rolls. So this is what I was talking about earlier, how you'll get subclass features that slowly just turn from disadvantages to advantage. This is just the stage 2 of that. So move it on. At level 6, we get the parry. And then we get a subclass feature, Perfect Execution. Killing enemies with Corruption 4 reduces critical roll hit by 1, up to a maximum of 2 for 4 turns. So you can essentially crit enemies. When you kill enemies, you get a chance to crit them and have that crit roll lowered by 1 for up to 2 turns. So this can probably stack with other items and abilities, so definitely take advantage of that. So we get another reaction point at level 7, and we get another subclass feature, Gaze of the Abyss. Your eyes pierce through any darkness as if it were daylight. You gain +3 bonus to initiative and cannot be surprised. So this is, again, similar to what you get on the Radiant, the +3 to initiative, and then the fact that you can't be surprised anymore. Level 8, we just get another level up of Factor of the Dragon and another feat here. So we'll go ahead and just pop out our strength. At level 9, we get the subclass feature Improved Critical Hit. This is just the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. This effect can stack and stack with our other passive ability that we got a couple levels ago. At level 10, we get a subclass feature, Tyrant of the Abyss. You have weaponized the Abyss that sought to consume you, becoming a herald of its terror. You have an advantage on intimidation checks. So this is what I was talking about earlier, how like our weakness became a strength. We no longer suffer the -1 to our attack and attack rolls, and now we have advantage on intimidation checks for like dialogue purposes and things like that. We get a new action called Wrath of the Fallen King. Release a devastating dark energy beam that inflicts scatter or advances corruption through stages, purifies and stuns for 1 round at stages 3 or 2 rounds at stage 4. So if you already have your enemies corrupted by weapon attacks, this will either increase that corruption or will cause them to be stunned and cleanse them of the corruption, doing additional damage and giving them this status effect. So we want to take a look at here. We can see the corruption in stages 1. The creature becomes scattered, which we discussed earlier, through the stages of corruption, which is 1 through 4. And then they can be stunned depending on the level of corruption. Now it says the weapon must be corrupted, and I believe that corruption is done once you do like a melee attack on a creature. It'll start building up those corruption stacks. At level 11, we get into the fighting style here. Again, you can go with 2-weapon fighting if you wanted the dual wield for whatever purpose. Retaliation is also pretty strong. You can go with dueling. Again, someone correct me if for the longsword, if you don't have a shield, does a longsword still count with the dueling feat? Because I know longswords are versatile, so I'm not 100% sure if like dueling works with that type of weapon. Alright, at level 12, if you wanted to end it here, this does also go up to level 20, but for those who only play up to level 12, this is going to be the last level up here. We'll get Factor of the Dragon, basically level 3, so cantrips and all spells up to level 3 have no effect against you. You get a new subclass feature called Corrupted Avalon. Corrupted Avalon deals 1d8 force damage to enemies in 4 meters, inflicts and advances corruption, heals equal to damage dealt, and reduces incoming damage by 2. So again, very, very strong class at max level. If you wanted to dual wield, you can pick this, because you do get access to another weapon, and I'll go ahead and showcase that weapon here shortly after the level up process. Alright, so at level 13, we get another subclass feature, basically just increasing our life leech. Killing enemies with melee attacks restores the wielder's health by 1 to 6 plus 5 points equal to half of its level. So now instead of just 1 point, now we get 5 points equal to half the level. So that does math. I'm not gonna do math because math is hard. If the target had corruption 4, gain 1 strength up to 2 until long rest. So if you max out the corruption of an enemy and then you end up killing them, you'll get +1 to your strength, and you can do that twice up until your next long rest. So your 20 can go maxed up until 22. Again, very, very strong, and that will, I think, put us to the top of +6 for strength checks. I'm not exactly sure. At level 14, we get the extra, we get improved extra attack, and then we get a new subclass feature, Not Dying Yet. Once per long rest, if you drop to 0, you'll gain 1 hit point instead of being down. This is basically the same thing that the passives get for half-orcs. Level 15, we get another additional reaction point, and we get a new subclass feature called Death Rattle. When a target with corruption 3 or higher dies, it explodes in a 5-meter radius, inflicts or advances corruption, and reduces all enemies' max HP by 10. So that's actually really good for crowd control and to spread corruption to enemies, so you can do more damage to like groups of foes and things like that. Level 16, we increase our final level to the Factor of the Dragon, which means all spells up to level 4 have no effect on you. We get the subclass feature Improvement of Life Leech, one now does +7 hit points to addition of 1 to 6 by killing enemies, equal to half of our level. I'm sorry, half of its level. I think that means the level of the enemy, not the level of you. I'll have to double check on that now reading through the flavor text. And again, if the target has corruption 4, you gain 1 strength up to +4 per long rest. So that means like if you keep going through battles, it just keeps killing enemies that are corruption level 4. That will turn your strength into +24. So you can be very, very strong character, doing a lot of damage until your next long rest. And we also get a new feat here. At this point, it's kind of your preference. You can still go with Alert if you haven't done that to give a little bit more initiative. Tough is also really good if you don't want to be a squishy. Savage Attacker is always a good plus if you didn't pick it up earlier. At level 17, we get a new action called Last Chance. Prevent any healing and immediately take 90% of max health as radiant damage to gain an extra action, bonus action, and make all attacks auto-critical except critical misses. So this is just basically like it is. It's a desperation attack. Say like you know a creature can die on your turn, but you can't risk missing. So you could pop this. It doesn't take an action point or anything. You get 2 action points. Or additional action point, which gives you 3 chances to attack, essentially, and an additional bonus action. It gets pretty crazy. At level 18, we get a new fighting style. So at this point, if you chose to do a weapon, if you chose dual wielder, you can choose 2-weapon fighting, which I'm going to do here. At level 19, we get a subclass feature, Avalon, the Blighted Land. So this gives you additional 2 to 16 force damage to enemies in the 4-meter radius, inflicts and advances corruption, heals equal to the damage dealt, and reduces incoming damage by 3. Executes targets below 20% HP. So this feels like sort of like Call of the Week, essentially. Like if enemies are below a certain threshold, you'll execute them outright. And then finally, at level 20, we get a new feature here. At this point, just pick whatever you like at level 20. Most people probably won't be at this point just because level 20 in the base game is not viable. Or not viable, I'm sorry. Getting level 20 in the base game is kind of impossible unless you do like XP modifications and things like that. So at this point, we're just going to go with tough to give a little bit more HP. Gives like 204 HP. So, while you may notice that you don't have as many abilities as the Radiant, I think you also have a lot of freedom with this class, simply because you're not reliant on having Radiant stacks and things like that. So, we have the Overwhelming Presence, which is a bonus action. Unleash your darkest emotions in a crushing way, potentially overwhelming foes, dealing additional 10 force damage equal to half the owner's level, and inflicting or advancing corruption at a cost of 20-second damage to yourself. So, if you wanted to give, like, corruption to enemies around you, you can just pop that, and that will give them at least corruption. I wouldn't say up to stage, let me see. It advances or inflicts them with corruption. So as you can see, a lot of these do have to have like a weapon be corrupted. And essentially what that means is like you have to basically, I believe, attack an enemy. So as you see there, corruption. So with that, now I get to take that corruption. But yeah, that essentially just allows you to stack corruptions at level 2, level 3, and then level 4. And if we want to take a look at the corruption, we can see at level 4 corruption. The creature is horrified, and the weapon owner deals additional 1d8 damage. Now, obviously, I can't show the damage threshold just because obviously it's withers, so it's not going to show the damage calculations. But yeah, we can corrupt our weapon now, which makes it deal a little bit more damage, things like that. So that's just kind of how the corruption system works. Essentially, it says the weapon must be corrupted, but it's more along the lines of, like, enemies must be corrupted. You must have spread corruption at some point.
Another step forward.
But just kind of give, like, a demonstration of some of the weapons here. So you get that darkness fire and that wave of energy. And then, obviously, trip attack is pretty standard. Nothing too crazy. We also do disarming attack, and then we have corrupting smite, which is just basically a very powerful smite. And then Dread's Pursuit, we really can't showcase that, obviously, because we don't have an enemy. So, per usual, we're going to do a combat scenario. I do want to showcase the other weapon that you do get, which is very similar to the lance that you get from the Radiant class, which is the Rungolmini. I can't pronounce that, Morgan. Essentially, it is the Darkness Corruption version of the spear that we get. And we can duel with this, I believe. So if you want the dual wield, you can with both weapons. It has the same effects as the Excalibur, except you get the snaring kit. When you hit a creature with the opportunity attack, you can no longer move for the rest of its turn. So it'd be basically just snaring them within the place that you attack them. So also has like the same corrupting weapon features and stuff. So we'll do a combat scenario, and then yeah, I think these mods are pretty cool. I do like some of the anime theme, even though they are a bit powerful. They're pretty fun to play with, especially like Trials of Tav and things like that. I don't necessarily think I would do them in like a normal playthrough unless to like really ramp up the difficulty with like the Nightmare mod and stuff like that. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the combat scenario. And I do have another video already planned. I can't wait to showcase it. You'll probably see it in the combat scenario what I'm going to be showcasing next. So if you're looking forward to that, please hit the like button, subscribe, all that typical YouTube stuff. I don't know if they have the hype button. I think that's a thing that's happening now. So if you want to hit the hype button, that helps with the algorithm and stuff like that as well. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.
Another fight. Let's go. At the ready. Another fight. Let's go. Best be on my way.
No choice but to keep going. One day, I'll catch a break.
Never a dull moment.
Still on my feet.
Death's close at hand.
These boots have seen everything.
Where do I go from here?